hi there, food friends. It is Kevin.
And Marianne behind the camera.
And welcome to Cavalcade of Food. And today we are making some cookies. And we are making some pumpkin chocolate chip cookies. How's that sound, Mare?
Sounds good.
We were talking earlier about pumpkin recipes and Cavalcade of Food. And if I didn't know myself better, I would think I was somehow obsessed with pumpkin stuff, because if you search pumpkin on the channel, you get a lot of recipes. Pumpkin bread, pumpkin cake, pumpkin muffins, pumpkin chili, pumpkin pasta sauce, pumpkin custard. Okay, I've done a lot of pumpkin stuff over the years, and I generally do them in this season as we're entering fall and we're starting to see pumpkins out and all that harvest stuff, and of course Halloween coming up in a few weeks. So anyways, I thought, okay, we're going to do at least one pumpkin recipe this fall, and so let's start with something fun. We're doing pumpkin cookies. Now, another thing that reminded me is it was about 2 weeks ago, Mare, well, maybe right around Labor Day. You know what happened? Pumpkin Spice Palooza just broke free, and now everything is pumpkin spice. I mean, oh my gosh, there's no end to it. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not a pumpkin spice fan. If you are, wonderful. Knock yourself out. There's a million things you can buy that are pumpkin spiced flavored. But I love pumpkin. I love the taste of pumpkin. And of course, pumpkin does benefit from a little bit of seasoning. And really, I think the best thing to go with pumpkin is cinnamon and maybe a touch of nutmeg, but that's it. You can keep your ginger and cloves and allspice and all that other stuff. Too much, Toots. You got me?
Yes.
Too much. For moi. For me. Again, you like it? Beautiful. This is your season. Do you, as the kids say. All right. Let's get started finally with these this cookie recipe, and it's pretty basic. And I've got my bowl here, and we'll get started. So, honey, I'm going to drop a stick of unsalted butter in the bowl here. It's been sitting out for a while, room temperature, so it's softened, which is what we want. And I'm going to have 1 cup of brown sugar. If I had dark brown sugar, I'd use it, okay? But light brown will work here too. I like the depth of the dark brown sugar here. Yeah. And what happens, Mare, when we measure brown sugar? What do?
You pack it down.
That's right. So there it is. That's 1 cup, okay? So let's kind of, let me get the bowl in place here. And I'll even move this. And let's kind of, we're going to get this creamed up a little bit. Now, I'm using a can of pumpkin puree here, okay? That's all that's in here, is pumpkin. Do not use pumpkin pie mix. Just use the 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree, please. There we go. All right, I think that's good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add said pumpkin and also 1 large egg, room temperature, Mare, right?
Right.
And we need a little vanilla, and we're going to put in a teaspoon of vanilla. Might be a scotch more than a teaspoon, but that's okay. All right, let's get those things going. And then I'm going to put this whole can of pumpkin in the works here. I'm just going to get all this pumpkin in there, and then we'll come back. Okay, Mare, we've got our brown sugar, our butter, our eggs, our egg, I should say, singular, and our pumpkin puree in the mixer. Now let's get to the dries, okay? So in this bowl here, honey, I've got 2½ cups of flour. And I'm going to add to it 1 teaspoon baking powder, 1 teaspoon baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon salt. Okay? By the way, you know where I always put the recipe for this stuff?
Under the description.
Exactly right. And so you can all find the instructions and recipe there. Mary, I got 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. I'm going to put that in. Then I do like a little nutmeg. Not a lot, just enough to kind of be like, oh yeah, okay. So I'm just going to put in literally a few scratches. This is a nutmeg, right?
Yep.
You can get it already ground. The flavor is much brighter when you grind it off like that, off of a whole thing. All right, now I'm going to do this. I'm going to take our spatula, or this is not a spatula, this is a whisk. You'd think by now I'd known what stuff was called. Okay, we're going to take our whisk. I'm going to give that a little mix around. Okay. Then, Mare, we're going to start putting our dry ingredients in here. Slowly. What would happen if we did it too fast?
You would get a flour facial.
That's right. So, let me get all this flour in and we'll come back. Give this bowl a little scrape down here. Now, Mare, once we've got this all mixed to our liking, and I think it's just about there, I've got, did I mention I have 1.5 cups of chocolate chips? So we're going to put that in there as well. But that's the last thing. Okay. So I will put those in there. Let them get stirred around. Some people like to do this by hand because sometimes the beater will break the chips up. That doesn't bother me. I actually like the mini chips, you know, the miniature size. But anyways, I have it on the lowest speed, and we'll just get that stirred in. Well, sis, all right. We're all crazy and mixed up here, and I'm going to start doing the cookies. These should be sort of what I would call, Mare, a cakey cookie. Do you know what I mean by that? The texture?
Yeah.
So
they won't be crunchy.
They won't be crunchy. They should be soft and cakey. You know, we were talking earlier, and maybe our food friends can hear it. This is week 2 of me using this wonderful 56 Kelvinator range, which some of you may have watched the Stove Exchange, and if you haven't, you should. Our friend Todd was here, and we got the new stove in, didn't we, Mare?
Yes.
And so far, so good. A couple things of note. One, the oven thermostat was, about 30 degrees off. It ran fast. In other words, If you put it at 350, it was like at 380. So I had to do a little adjusting there with the knob. And, you know, that's why I always say, even if you have a new oven, get an oven thermometer and put it in there. Because just because the oven tells you it's at 350, it ain't necessarily so. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we also hear, every once in a while, we'll hear a little sound coming from the oven. And the bottom, the floor of the oven, from the heat, it sometimes moves. So we don't have a ghost in there. That's just the old Calvi talking to us. Okay. Mira, I got a dozen here on this sheet. I'm going to get a dozen on the next. And I'm going to try to bake these off 2 dozen at a time. So the Calvinator is preheated to 350 degrees. And these are going to bake for, 14, 15 minutes or so. Okay? Mare, let's see about our cookies and getting them out of the oven. Whoop. Boy, they smell good. Here is that. So I probably over-talked for a little bit, so these were in for maybe just a smidge more than 15 minutes, that may be closer to 16. But what we're going to do is I want to look underneath, Mare, and just see how the bottom. Oh, look at that nice brown. You see that nice brown bottom there?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you want, folks. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these on the sheets here for about another minute, and then I'm going to transfer them to my cooling rack, and then we'll get another, hopefully, maybe another 2 dozen out of this recipe, and we'll get those in our Calvinator. Baked them beautifully. Well, okay, honey, while the cookies are in the oven, we're going to do a little something I'm going to call the Cavalcade Q&A. What do you think of that?
Sounds good.
So I get a lot of questions, Mare, in the comments, email, and I do my best to answer all of them, and I often wonder if the people who asked the questions got the answers, or maybe some other people are thinking about the same question but didn't ask. So anyways, when I can, I'm going to try to answer some questions that people have given me. And I got a couple here. One is, why do you always wear a tie? Well, I didn't always wear a tie. If you ever look at the early videos from the early days of Cavalcade of Food, and ones that were, especially the ones that were shot at a cottage I used to have, I was often in a t-shirt or something very comfortable, because the cottage was not air conditioned. Cottage didn't have heat or air conditioning for that matter. And it was very small, and it was in the summertime. It was so hot in there, and I would normally have fans going everywhere, but with the camera and the microphone, you can't have these big fans going. So it's amazing I didn't keel over in some of these videos, because do you remember how hot that kitchen would get, Mare?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, 100 degrees, and I'm not exaggerating. So, but when I came here and I got all my collections sort of sorted out and that, I finally got to my collection of vintage neckties, of which I have quite a few. I love old neckties, not the skinny ones from the 50s and early 60s. I like the big, fat, wide ones from the late 60s and early 70s. This one, the men's shop, Mare, at J.C. Penney, as we used to say. And so anyways, I have a collection of vintage neckties. I have a collection of vintage ascots, and I usually wear those during the cocktail videos. But if I'm doing a cookbook or an appliance or a houseware, I may just have on my Cavalcade smock, which is what I wear when I'm working around here, and not a tie. But that's why, because it's another part of my collecting that I get to share with you. Why don't you post more videos, like 2 or 3 a week? Getting an eye roll from my sister, because you know what? We barely have time to do 1 a week, and I'm just being honest. I work 40 plus hours a week at a job I love, okay? And that's what I do for a living. I'm a content creator, but not a content creator by profession. This is just something I do for fun. And so I just don't have time. It's just that simple. And so, again, maybe someday I might have more time to do more videos, but at least for the near future, once a week is about as optimistic as I think I can get. What do you say, Toots? You want to do one every day?
No.
There you go, folks. And then finally, do I have a favorite stove? Well, that's a tough question. I would ask somebody, do you have a favorite child? I think Mom and Dad had a favorite, but, yes, Mary Ann is doing this. But I would say, no, you know what? It's like children. You love them all, and you love them all for different reasons, because they're each unique. And I will say that about my stoves. They're all unique. I love them for different reasons. Some have features that I think are just fun, or I love the design of them. But again, there's something to really love about all my stoves. And I feel a connection. When I go to look at a vintage stove out in the field, okay, and I either feel a connection or I don't. It's palpable. It's a real thing. And if I feel the connection, then you know what? The stove comes home with me and into the collection. It's always been that way. I have a 1958 General Electric stove with the push buttons. That was my first vintage stove, Mare. And I do really have a soft spot in my heart for that one, because it was my first one. And so it's very special to me in that regard. Plus, it's just a great stove. I mean, it's a wonderfully performing stove. Okay, hope I answered the questions. Keep them coming, and I'll try to answer them in future cavalcades. All right, now let's get these cookies out of the oven. Okay, time for the tasting. There. Here we are. We have a nice brown on the bottom. Oh, sister girl. These are good. They are soft, very light. They are like little pumpkin cakes. You have 3 prominent flavors: pumpkin, chocolate, and then behind that, cinnamon. Very good. I'm going to have to try to hold some of these back, and so I don't eat them all. But maybe one more just to show our friends. Again, they have a lovely browning on the bottom. Can you see that interior, Mare? Great with coffee. Okay? Did you get it?
Yep, I got it.
Thank you. Great with coffee, tea, hot cider. We're in season. Okay. Just little puffs of fall delight. Again, recipe below the video in the description. How about that website?
Cavalcadefood.com.
Cavalcadefood.com. You heard her, folks. That's a great place to go to connect to all the videos. And my other YouTube channel, Always Analog. And my Saturday morning radio program, Cavalcade Radio Hour. So you can do that. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Really helps us out. And hit the like button. I'll thank my sister for working the camera today.
You're welcome.
And we'll thank our food friends, as always, for watching. And we hope everyone is having a great start to a beautiful autumn season. And we'll see you back here again soon on Cavalcade of Food. Bye, everybody.
Bye.